How you doing, guys? Give me 1 second to straighten this up. There we go. So, hope everybody's having a great weekend. Today, I'll finally be doing my 3 definitions for sin video. I've been saying I was going to do the last couple of weeks. So, I'm probably going to have to do definitely a part 2 to this video. But for this first video, I want to prove that these 3, iniquity, transgression, and trespass, are variations of sin. I want to prove that without the shadow of a doubt. In the next video, I will actually go into describing what a transgression sin is, what a trespass sin is, what iniquity sin is. But for this video, I just want to explain how they are all variations of sin, all different types of sin. And what we're trying to do today, the only reason I'm even doing this is for people that don't know, and also when detractors want to say something concerning 2 Corinthians chapter 5 verse 19, you need to be able to explain in detail how God is not in charging sins. Because see, certain people, individuals out there will look at 2 Corinthians chapter 5 verse 19 and they will tell you, well, that just says God is in charging trespass sins. They'll look you dead in the eye and they'll like, a trespass is a sin, a type of sin. God just is not charging that sin. That's all. That's what they'll tell you. And you have to be able to back up explaining to them, no, God's not charging any sins. And you have to be able to explain that. And I got into a conversation with the guy, as I told you a couple weeks ago, in which I almost got to that point where I wasn't going to be able to explain that. I was believing God's not charging sin, but I couldn't articulate. I gave him the verses like Ephesians 1 verse 7, Colossians 1 verse 14. I don't have room to put that on here, but I'm going to explain how even if you have trouble understanding 2 Corinthians 5:19, how God is not charging trespass sins, I want you to understand you have forgiveness of all sins, all types of sins. So that's what this video is about. So first, starting off, I won't go here to 2 Corinthians 5:19. You can go there yourself. It's just God was in Christ, reconciling the world to himself, not imputing their trespasses to them. But we're trying to break that down and understand what is trespass and how does that relate to me, and God is not imputing my trespasses. This is very important to understand that. We'll first go to Leviticus chapter 5. So we're going out of Paul's books. And Leviticus is a book of laws. All these laws. Leviticus chapter 5, verses 1 through 9. And if a soul sin and hear the voice of swearing, and is a witness whether he have seen or known of it, if he do not utter it, then he shall bear his iniquity. This is also a verse explaining that iniquity is a part of that. Iniquity is not a sin, and sin is a sin. That's what I want to first start off by saying. There's no situation where sin is just sin and iniquity is another sin. Like you've committed 2 sins. No, when you, like, based off what I just explained, let's read it again. And if a soul sin and hear the voice of swearing, and as a witness whether he have seen or known of it. So all we know so far is the soul has sinned. He's sinned, right? If he do not utter it, then he shall bear his iniquity. A clear example of when you sin. Now, it also depends on what you did, right? Now, that doesn't mean, for example, every single sin is iniquity. That's not what I'm saying. This goes back to how sin has different categories, different types that you can do. There are some that you willfully break God's law. There are some that you do it in ignorance, not knowing. There are some where you what else? Premeditated. There's so many different types of sin, but they're all sin. That's what I'm trying to explain today. So this first verse is already telling you that in this particular situation. So let's see what this person did. They hear the voice of swearing, and they're a witness, whether they've seen it or known of it. If they do not utter it, then that person is bearing his iniquity. You see the situation? That's a sin where it's iniquity. In that situation, only that situation, I haven't said anything else, in that particular situation, that is a sin iniquity. Let's keep reading. Or if a soul touch any unclean thing. Let me a second, guys. I want to turn this light on. Actually, well, nah, it's pretty clear on the phone. I thought it was dark. Let me go back. Or if a soul touch any unclean thing, whether it be a carcass of a carcass of an unclean beast, or a carcass of an unclean cattle, or the carcass of an unclean creeping things, and if it be hidden from him, he also shall be unclean and guilty. Or if he touch the uncleanliness of man, whatsoever uncleanliness it be, that a man shall be defiled withal, and it be hid from him when he knoweth it, and then he shall be guilty. Or if a soul swear pronouncing with his lips to do evil or to do good, whatsoever it be that a man shall pronounce with an oath, and it be hid from him when he knoweth of it, then he shall be guilty in one of these. And it shall be, when he shall be guilty in one of these things, then he shall confess that he hath sinned in that thing. And he shall bring his trespass offering. So here's a situation where a trespass offering is being conducted. This is different from iniquity now. It's no longer iniquity sin, it's a progression. Now it's a trespass. And he shall bring his trespass offering unto the Lord for his sin which he hath sinned. So he bring a trespass offering for his sin, because he sinned. A female from the flock, a lamb or a kid of goats for a sin offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for him concerning his sin. So it was a trespass offering, but all of this is according to his sin. So I mean, already we know pretty much a trespass is a sin. Let's continue. And if he be not able to bring a lamb, then he shall bring for his trespass which he hath committed. Then he shall bring for his trespass which he hath committed two turtle doves or 2 young pigeons unto the Lord, one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering. And he shall bring them unto the priest, who shall offer that which is for the sin offering first, and wring off his head from his neck, but shall not divide it asunder. And he shall sprinkle of the blood of the sin offering upon the side of the altar, and the rest of the blood shall be wrung out at the bottom of the altar. It is a sin offering. And he shall offer the second for a burnt offering according to the matter, and the priest shall make an atonement for him for his sin, which he hath sinned, and shall be forgiven him. Do you see how even one of these words, right? Iniquity, transgression, trespass, it's all telling you the category, the type of sin. It's all describing it's for this sin, it's for this sin, it's for this sin. There's no situation in which, for example, I watched a video last week. I was looking up, researching. A guy said a trespass is not a sin. He straight up said a trespass is not connected to sin. It's not a type of sin. Nothing. He just said it's just a trespass. Sin is sin and trespass is trespass. trespass is a sin. It's a sin. 100% it's a sin. And if you just read these verses like I'm doing right now, going on the video, you can see it. But most of you guys, I believe, understand this. It's for the ones that don't believe their Bible or want to make up something. This is why they attack 2 Corinthians 5:19. Some incorrectly don't know the definition of trespass. So when they see God is not charging trespasses, they're like, whoop-de-doo. That doesn't mean that he's not charging sins. No, it does. A trespass is a sin. It literally means, at least you should at least say God is not charging a trespass sin. That would be more accurate, to be honest. God is not charging trespass sins. Right? But I'm going to prove to you it's not just trespass sins that God is not charging. I also want to prove you have full forgiveness of all these types of sins. Anything that's a sin, you have forgiveness. And there's a very simple verse that explains this in great detail. But we're not there yet. Let me see. And I didn't even write on the board. It's Colossians 1 verse 14. But we'll go there. Let me see. 10. And he shall offer the second for a burnt offering according to the manner, and the priest shall make an atonement for him for his sin which he hath sinned, and it shall be forgiven him. 11. But if he be not able to bring 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons, then he that sinned shall bring for his offering the 10th part of an ephah of wine flour for a sin offering. He shall put no oil upon it, neither shall he put any frankincense thereon, for it is a sin offering. Then shall he bring it to the priest, and the priest shall take his handful of it, even a memorial thereof, and burn it on the altar according to the offerings made by the fire unto the Lord. It is a sin offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for him as touching his sin, that he hath sinned in one of these, and it shall be forgiven him. And the remnant shall be the priest as a meat offering. And the Lord shall speak unto Moses, saying, if a soul commit a trespass and sin through ignorance in the holy things of the Lord, then he shall bring for his trespass unto the Lord. I want to also explain, you cannot, just so you understand, the Bible's not saying you can commit a trespass and not sin. That's impossible. If you trespass, you have sinned. I just want you to understand that, right? So when you're looking at that verse, when you're looking at 15, don't think in your mind, okay, a trespass is a trespass, a sin is something different, because it says and sin. It always goes with each other. Every time you trespass against God, you have sinned. This thing's just going to keep falling down. Every time you trespass, you sinned against God. Every single time. There's no situation where you can trespass God and not sin. If you look at 2 Corinthians 5:19, it says, yeah, God's not charging trespasses. But that doesn't mean he's not charging sins. You have the incorrect definition. You've messed up. It's not. God is literally not charging trespass sins right now. He's not charging that. Sin, a trespass is a sin. In holy things of the Lord, then he shall bring for his trespass unto the Lord a ram without blemish out of the flocks with the estimation by shekels of silver after the shekel of the sanctuary for a trespass offering. And he shall make amends for the harm that he have done in the holy thing, and shall add the 5th part thereunto, and give it unto the priest, and the priest shall make an atonement for him with the ram of the trespass offering, and it shall be forgiven him. And if a soul sin and commit any of these things which are forbidden to be done by the commandments of the Lord, though he wist it not, yet he is guilty, he shall bear his iniquity. And he shall bring a ram without blemish out of the flock. Hold on, guys. AC went out. Here we go. and shall bring a ram without blemish out of the flock with that estimation for